This is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network talking to you about the sequestration and budget cuts that have happened last night. So, Jack, what do you think about the massive budget cuts that the government implemented last night?
They're a joke. It's all a joke. You know, these people think they have a reality or a pulse on America, and they don't. They really don't. You know, these guys, all they do is basically the Senate works 3 days a week and they collect over $250,000 and they're doing deals, you know, and behind everybody.
Now, what do you think last night or Friday, they were going home early, like around lunchtime, you know, and the senators weren't even trying to get anything done. You know, Friday. What do you think about that? Just hours before this was to happen.
Yeah, that just proves to show you exactly what I'm saying. You have to vote only 2 terms for your Senate. 2 terms for each senator. That's it. I cannot trust somebody who's well over in their 60s, 70 years old, 80 years old to be mentally competent to run this country. You know, it's an absolute joke. You know, and they're going home early. No, what had to happen was the president had to go, get them all in a room and say, you're going to do your homework, you're going to stay put, and you're going to shut up and you're going to swallow your pride. Now, and you're going to bang out this deal.
Now, Obama actually was suggested that during a press conference Friday, but he said he's not a dictator and he can't do that. He has to have everyone come voluntarily. Do you think he should be more of a dictator and actually force Congress to act?
Absolutely. He has to. He has to. Our economy is too fragile. And he has millions and millions and millions of people, which are us, which are the, you know, we're the United States, you know, we're the citizens. You know what I mean? We got guys dying, you know, for what, oil? And everybody says, no, it's not for oil, it's not for oil. Who knows who's pulling the strings above the presidency for us to have a war, you know? He has to be much more of a dictator, whether he likes it or not. That's it. And if not, then the people have to come together as a group, as a mass people. We can control and take control of this country. All you got to do is everybody unite, get your votes together and bring them down, and that's it. But everybody's in this lethargic sleep.
Now, many people say that the government needs to cut their budget and get down spending, yet people also want all these government programs. Like the military is going to be cutting school teachers on Army bases, so 1 day a week their military children will not have a teacher. Border Patrol, air traffic controllers will not be working 1 day a week because of these budget cuts. You know, we say we need our budget cut, but, you know, we don't want to give up these services. What do you think about that, Jack?
It goes back to who's really putting this deal together. You know, who's going to benefit from it? You know, there's always, with our government, there's always a backdoor deal. Who's going to benefit? Who are the senators that are going to benefit from these budget cuts? You know, where is that money going to go? You know, we're in a disaster still. You know, I get Obama or whatever, but you know what? There's people way above the presidency that are really pulling the strings on this country. You know? So look at the movie 2016. I hope he's not trying to make moves of decolonization. Look at it. It's about Obama's agenda. 2016. It goes into it in depth.
So in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say?
Yeah, the government's got to get their act together, you know what I mean? Obama has to, hey, he's got to pull the Chicago. Hey, you're from Chicago, you're a hard guy, time to be a hard guy, whether he's a dictator, he wants to be a dictator or not. He gets everybody back in the Senate, gives them only 2 terms. That's it, 2 terms only. And then get everybody to work, man. And I'll tell you something else about immigration. The governor of Arizona, the first week where she said immigration, you know, everybody who was an immigrant basically had to leave or what. She created over 430,000 jobs in 1 week. We are the citizens of the United States. These people have their generation. I get his speech, generational, everybody's here, all this and that. That's fine and dandy. But we're the ones who bled. We're the ones who sweat. Not that I will never take away from people who sweated for this country, especially the Hispanic community, because I've worked with many Mexicans because of the industry I was in. And they say the same thing, you know what I mean? Even Mexican friends that I have say that their own people take advantage of the resources that we have here. And I'm tired of paying for some woman who, you know, basically she's pregnant, doesn't belong here, and I gotta flip a $50,000 bill for her to have a kid. That's crazy, you know? And these people who've been here many years, they've had plenty of time to get their papers, this and that.
Okay, so in closing, this is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, signing out. This is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, talking to you about the government sequestration and debt cuts last night. Now, the government slashed $1.9 billion from the budget last night, so now military families, border patrol, you know, air traffic controllers will see a 10% cut in their pay, and they will only be working 4 days a week now. Now, what do you think about that? How will that affect you guys on Cybertron?
Oh, that's how we're going to get in. It's good for us, because if there's nobody watching the borders, we're totally going to come and take over. That's good for Autobots or Decepticons. It's good for Decepticons, which is also good for Autobots, because then you'll need us. See what I'm saying? You following my logic? But for you guys here on Earth, that actually doesn't sound too. I'm not happy with that. I mean, anytime you cut a budget for the military, well, okay, I'm sorry. Let me explain. It depends on where the military cuts or budgets are going from. You know, if like they're cutting back on certain things, it may not sound so bad. I mean, when you hear a figure across the board, but you don't know where those cuts are going, you know, but days off, unless you're on active duty, a day off in the military is not really that. That doesn't sound bad either. I mean, if you think about it, we tend to think that that's a negative tone, like you're getting a negative sense from a day off, not working as often or whatever, but in the military, 4 days on is actually more like you're working 6 days a week. You know, there really is no, a day in the military is like 23 hours. I mean, it's like, our normal work day is like 8 hours. Military, it's like 23 hours. You're working like the whole thing. You might get an hour's worth of sleep.
Now, Obama was pushing for Congress to get together, you know, and they suggested that they should lock everyone in a room to get a deal done. But Obama says he's not a dictator and he can't make all these people come together. Now, what do you think about that? Should he have actually put everyone and got a deal last night?
Okay, say that again. I'm sorry. You got to simplify that question for me. Obama should not do what?
There was a suggestion yesterday that they should lock all the Congress people in a room and not let them leave until they get an agreement. But he said he couldn't do it because he's not a dictator. What do you think about that?
No, I don't agree with that. You know, not being a dictator versus not trying to come up with an answer for a serious problem. I mean, there's no excuse for that. No, absolutely. They should work at that until they come up with a solution.
Now, yesterday the senators were leaving work at lunchtime. You know, just hours before the deal needed to be made at midnight, they were going home at lunchtime.
So
they think about senators not, you know, leaving early on the day that this crisis was going to take effect.
They probably came in at 11 and left at 11:30.
Sounds about right. So in closing, is there any last minute things you want to say about this?
Just to clarify, my math, I don't take it like mathematically. A military day is 23 hours. What I mean is a work day. There's a work day, and then there's obviously a 24-hour day. So just to clarify that, it may have sounded like, absolutely, yeah, 24 hours in a day. And the thing is, I may be wrong about what I said, because I don't know where those cuts are coming from. Now, if it comes to find out that those budget cuts are coming from somewhere that they should stay, then absolutely I would not be on board with that.
Okay, so in closing, this is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, signing out. This is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, talking to you about the government sequestration and debt cuts last night of $1.9 billion, or of a whole lot of money. This is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, talking to you about the sequestration and budget cuts last night to the government's budgets. What do you think about all these across-the-board budget cuts?
Well, a lot of budget cuts come from the debt field. They didn't settle it, and that's where the budget cuts come from. So now we're going to have a high taxes, a high everything, a lot of high inflation going to come here in America, and a lot of stuff right now. Until they do a global reset, they're going to take care of our debt deficit.
Now, Yesterday, the senators were going home at like lunchtime, just hours before a deal was to be done. What do you think about our elected representative taking off early on the day of this fiscal crisis?
I think it's disgusting. They plan down to break down the annihilation of America in its Constitution. So that way they can run the government the way they want to go, to bring on the one world order, so that way they can regulate everybody at one time.
Now, many people say that the government needs to cut their spending and stop all this reckless spending and all this government debt, yet we don't want to give up on our services, you know, like Social Security, or, you know, cut back on the military and stuff like that. What do you think about this? You know, we want the cuts, yet we still want the services.
Well, we want the services, but they don't need to give out the cuts, though, because they've been cutting all during the years, you know what I'm saying, since the Democrats and Republicans been cutting for the longest time.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say?
Yeah, guys, hey, get ready, just in case when things happening, make sure you buy some foreign currency, buy some gold, make sure buy gold and silver, because they go up, because our economy, currency is supposed to go collapse. So get ready for it, okay, guys? Make sure, go invest right now while you got a chance, okay? Or you won't look kind of stupid at the end.
In closing, this is Tax System, the Predatory Lending Network, signing out. Now, this is Tax System, the Predatory Lending Network, talking to you about the government and sequestration debt cuts that across the board budget cuts last night. Now, Catwoman, what do you think about the government slashing their budget something like by $1.9 billion last night?
Well, I mean, the budget needs to be fixed, but I don't know if slashing it where they did and then the places they did is actually where it was necessary. Maybe they should cut their salaries in half a little bit more instead of taking away days from air traffic controllers. I think we have enough problem with our airports and our planes and all that. We constantly have some problem with that. So that's not exactly a place I would really think that you want to make budget cuts. Education too, considering most of the country I find these days can't even spell properly, and they do graduate and get diplomas and they don't even know proper English. So education really actually needs to be upped instead of downed, and so I actually think they probably cut the budget in the wrong places. Why don't you guys pay yourself less and let a little bit more go to places that people actually need it? And when you do take your lunch breaks, why don't you not pick the most expensive restaurants? Because I know you're writing it off on your taxes.
Now, I'm trying to remember all the questions. I'm just winging this interview. So they're going to be doing massive budget cuts to the military. I know we're pulling out of Afghanistan and Iraq, but what do you think about cutting military pay by, you know, 1 day a week? This military families aren't going to be working.
Well, military families already have it kind of hard. I mean, I know they do get, you know, certain benefits and certain stuff like that. But I mean, these are the people that are like taking care of our country, watching our country, going out there and doing things that nobody else would be doing. I guarantee you none of the politicians even have the balls to go out there and do any of the stuff that our military does. So they're all ready to sit behind their chairs and their big desks and give orders, but the ones that are actually out there doing the hard work, they really shouldn't be the ones that are taking a pay cut. I think, in fact, they should be getting more. But, you know.
What do you think should be done about the budget crisis?
We have so many problems, and all I know is that politicians are all making a hell of a lot of money. I think they still should be changing their tax policies, because people who are making the most money in this country and have the most money in this country, I don't really still think that they're paying as much taxes as they should. So I really think whoever is writing these things really needs to have a little bit more going on upstairs. I mean, hopefully they finished and have an education, and, you know, I'm sure they wouldn't be where they were if budget cuts were when they were going to school and they didn't have teachers to teach them proper English.
So in closing, this is Tax System, the Predatory Lending Network, signing out.